All right, so today I want to give people like a life hack. People like life hacks, right? They're like clever little ways to, cheat the system, trick people, or figure things out, right? Okay, so what's one of the big things in human society that people do often? Judgment, right? We judge other people. So, we're like watching the news, and then you hear a news story. Man robs liquor store at gunpoint and takes off with the money, and we think, look at that person. Unbelievable. Or any kind of story we hear about people, and we're just like, I can't believe that. Right? Now, of course, when people do shitty things like rob people at gunpoint, of course, they're not nice things, right? We can all agree with that. But this idea of like, look at him. The truth is, we don't know. We only know our own experience, right? So when we see people doing things, we don't understand that they're coming from a different experience. So we're just like, I can't believe they did that, right? So what's this life hack to sort of bring some humility to people so we stop doing that to each other? Well, I'll say one thing. This life hack only kind of works if you're not an atheist. Because if you're an atheist, this life hack doesn't work. Because as an atheist, it's this idea of like, you're born into this life, you have one life, you try to live the most honorable life you can, you're a good person, you try to help humanity, and then you're gone, and then that's it. The end. So you left your legacy, you did the best you could, and it's game over. It's hard to really argue with that. But for anyone else who's not an atheist, and what I mean by not atheist, I mean somebody who thinks that maybe we have a soul or a spirit, and then after we die, we go to some sort of afterlife or something of that genre. Now, for somebody like that, you can really fuck with them in a really simple yet fun way to maybe help them release some of the judgment they have. You know that saying in the Bible? Now, keep in mind, I'm not religious, so this is coming from somebody who's, I haven't like deeply studied the Bible, but you know that, I'm going to probably get this quote wrong, but that common saying people use, speaking of judgment, right? Apparently they used to stone people when they did bad things. So this idea of like before you throw that first stone, it's this idea of like, hey, wait a second, let he who has never sinned cast the first stone or something. You get what I'm saying. It's a very popular saying. Probably not saying the words right. So what's this idea? This idea is like, hey, hold on, before you start stoning this person to death, ask yourself, oh, have I ever sinned? And if I have, maybe I shouldn't judge this person and throw this stone. It's a nice saying, right? But there's a flaw in that saying. Because the flaw in that saying is it still sounds too general. Because somebody could be like, yeah, sure, we've all sinned, but I've never killed anybody. That's disgusting. So you can really use that loophole for like a lot of things. Kind of like, oh yeah, sure, we've all sinned, but I've never done this thing. That thing's horrible. And then you can still stone that person, right? So it's kind of like, so what I did is I created a new saying. Now this new saying is pretty intense. So I don't say it lightly, but it's kind of a way to bring absolute humility to you and be like, oh, well, I guess I can't really judge anybody anymore. I guess I'm fucked. Now, what is this ultimate saying? By the way, I Googled this saying, and it's never been said before, so congratulations, Tony. You just created a new catchy saying. Okay, I'm going to get to the saying because it's pretty intense. But, so how do you get people on board with this? Well, it's just this idea, if you believe that we have a soul or a spirit that goes on, right? Because you die, and all of a sudden you're like this spirit or soul, and you're like, hey, look, I'm still alive. This is amazing, right? So if that's the case, then I guess your body is mortal, but then you have this other infinite, eternal kind of part of you that just lives on for eternity, an eternal, beautiful soul. All right? That's great, right? Congratulations, you're an eternal, beautiful soul. Beautiful, right? But do people really comprehend what eternity means if you're this eternal soul? I don't think they do. They're just like, yay, I'm an eternal soul. Woohoo! Sounds fun, right? But the idea is, if you're this beautiful eternal soul, right? That means you've probably been and done everything. Because if you're this eternal soul, you've lived and will live forever. So what does that mean? Well, that means you'll probably have infinite experiences, right? Maybe you reincarnate back onto this earth and live infinite lives on this earth, or you go to some other planet or some other dimension and you're living in. The bottom line is you're having infinite experiences, right? So if you're having all these experiences, that means you've done everything. But you don't want to think about that, right? Like, no, I'm just this honorable guy. I've lived a good life. That's great. But what about all your other infinite lives? So what am I getting at? Well, this idea of judgment, right? Now, the saying that I came up with, it's pretty intense, but it's the only way, like I said, that let he who has never sinned cast the first stone. Not intense enough, because people are like, yeah, well, sure, we've all sinned, but I've never done this. Well, here's my saying. Ready for this? The saying is, if you're eternal, you're a rapist. Sounds pretty intense, right? If you're eternal, you're a rapist. Now, why would I use such a disgusting word? To really truly emphasize that we've probably all done everything, every horrible thing you can possibly imagine. Why? Because we're quote unquote eternal, right? So if you're eternal, you've had infinite time to experience and do everything. So we've probably all been murderers, rapists, every other kind of thing possible in some sort of life, right? Now, when you realize that, how do you really look at somebody doing something and say, oh, I can't believe that person did that? I mean, if whatever religion you believe, if you go under the concept that we have some sort of eternal soul that lives on, you got to accept the fact that you've probably been and done everything. So then when you realize that, you realize, oh, I get it. These are just some sort of characters we're playing, and we all take turns playing the good guy, the bad guy, and we've all done everything. Right? So that's where that saying comes from. If you're eternal, you're a rapist. To sort of bring some humility to you and realize, hey, settle down. We've probably all been and done everything. So that's sort of the life hack that I've sort of... because like I said, that saying, let he who has never sinned cast the first stone, it's too light. It doesn't get to the point now. Because somebody could be like, yeah, sure, we've all kind of sinned, but I've never raped anybody. Or, well, yeah, we've all sinned, but I've never killed anybody. That's disgusting. Let's stone this person to death. And I'm saying, hey, settle down, because if you truly are some sort of beautiful eternal soul, that also means you've done and been everything, including a killer, a rapist, any kind of other messed up thing you can possibly imagine. Right? So with that, you have to have ultimate humility to understand we've all been and done everything, and we're just playing this game of different characters, and we all take turns playing the good guy and the bad guy, and that's it. So that's my little life hack. If you ever encounter somebody who seems a little too judgmental and thinks they're like above everyone else. I can't believe what that person did. Kind of ask them what their philosophy on life is and what they believe, and maybe you can kind of get them on that life hack. When I say get them, I don't mean like get them like haha, but I mean maybe bring a little humility into their lives. So that way we could have a little bit less judgment in this world, and we could all be free to live our lives to the best of our abilities, knowing that we probably will fuck up in this life or another life if we truly are eternal. Because if you're eternal, we're going to have infinite moments to fuck up and then infinite moments to get things right. And that's it. Thank you. That's my Amazon package. Bye.